is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Justified, Season 6, Episode 2, Cash Game. In this episode, lots of shit going on with real estate, which feels super boring to me, but then it turns out that there's like an old bank, and I'm hoping there's buried treasure. Welcome to Unspoiled.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, you want some. I'm fighting for my soul, God, get at you, boy. You try to go hard, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, you want some. See them long, hard times to come.
This episode brought to you by the letter R.
Oh my God. You're fired! Get out! Podcast over.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the show, all you peoples. I'm Natasha.
And I am Alan. So, yeah, an old bank. I was all excited to ask you, so what do you think the pizza parlor used to be? And then I forgot they told you.
Yeah, they do. They just, like, drop it in there right at the end so that it was almost like I missed it. And I just saw, like, I stopped and was like, did he just say? And I had to rewind it. But yeah, that was a nice little drop to have it. Almost, the way that Raylan says it, I can't tell if he's, like, kind of baiting them in a way and letting them know, hey, you think that we don't know, but I know. This used to be a bank. I can't tell if that's what's going on or if he's just, you know, kind of just talking off his dome, you know?
Right. But, yeah, so this episode was, well, what did you think about it? You said in the tease there that you thought it was a little boring?
It's not that I thought the episode was boring. It's that I thought the intrigue, which was centered around real estate, seemed really boring. You know what I mean? Like, the guy who's in the middle of it, who's actually selling the real estate, the blowhard.
Yeah.
He is just a very kind of, like, feels a little bit of a cliche.
Yeah.
So I didn't find him that interesting, and I didn't understand the goals of the bearded dude, so I didn't really know what to make of him, and I wasn't feeling one way or another about him, and I didn't know what the hell Boyd's big play was here. It didn't feel like he even had one. So I felt like this episode was a lot of, like, I just have to sit and wait and see what this turns into, you know?
Sure.
So it wasn't like, I didn't find the episode itself boring, but I felt a little, I think, impatient is really what it was.
I can understand that.
It took a while for anything to kind of be revealed.
Yeah, I think I found it maybe a little more compelling than you did, but it does take its time, no question. Mm-hmm. No question. And even by the end of the episode, we still don't really know what's going on. We just have more details than we used to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and since you just mentioned it, it occurred to me that this series as a whole has an awful lot to do with real estate. Yeah,
it does.
There is Gary in the beginning, and then the people buying up the top of the mountain, and now these guys buying up homes and hanging out in old pizza parlors. There's a surprising amount of real estate in this cop show.
Yeah, I actually initially thought that maybe this guy was working with another, like, coal mining, or, you know, like, that they were circling back around after unsuccessfully trying the first time. But then I was like, wait, she kind of made that deal herself, didn't she, Mags?
Yeah,
she had exactly how that went down in the second season.
Yeah, she had kind of she'd been operating with the older lady whose name I don't remember, almost as sort of an independent contractor. The two of them were operating almost one-on-one. Right. So yeah, that's a good catch, but I don't know how much they actually end up relating.
Yeah, I'm just I think that I'm like I guess we'll see, but I was really hoping that this season was just going to circle around bank robberies and heisting and that kind of thing. And so I think I was a little disappointed that there turned out to be another like kind of, oh, well, it's, you know, technically illegal dealing, but technically not really. But, you know, all of this sort of strong arm behind the scenes stuff, like there is with that one family that he's going up against, who calls him a peacock. Yeah. But, you know, it's only the second episode, so I am very much withholding judgment on it.
Yeah, there's still a lot to be revealed here. Mm-hmm. But I understand where you're coming from, because it really is, they're not a crime family, but at the same time, are they that much different than the Chicago or the Detroit mob?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe not. You want to get into this from the beginning?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, Justified Season 6, Episode 2, Cash Game, written by Dave Andron and VJ Boyd, and directed by Dean Parasot. This is his last episode of Justified. And he did one episode in Season 5, and back in Season 3, he did The Devil You Know, which is the episode where the prison guard kidnapped Dickie and Dewey. And,
okay, wow, yeah.
Yeah, and Slaughterhouse, which was the finale of Season 3. And so he's been with us for a little while, and seems like I was trying to see if there was any kind of correlation between stuff that happens in those episodes and this one, and I kind of feel like he's got a bit of the physical comedy thing between the prison guard kidnapping Dickie and Dewey and Choo Choo, who we'll meet in a little bit.
Oh my god. Listen. I may have a new favorite character. He was so full of weird surprises, I think was what it was. Like, I really thought he was just going to be first I thought he was just going to be like over aggressive. And then he had way more restraint than I expected. Like, I thought he was going to be kind of a Danny type, but then he wasn't. And then he started just saying shit that I was like, wait, like, I had the reaction that Raylan has at one point where he's like, wait, are you saying you don't follow me? Like, you don't understand? Like, you're just like, I'm starting to wonder if I've been all wrong about you. And then, you know, there was that one very throwaway moment with Tim where he's like, yeah, like the hills. Like, I just fucking love him. I love him. I hope that nothing happens to him too early on, because I want him around.
Choo Choo's great.
Anyway.
So yeah, we'll get to Choo Choo. This episode opens with Ava having a breakfast of wild turkey in a coffee cup.
Yeah.
Is interrupted by movement in the barn. And she heads out armed to take care of it, only to find Boyd screwing around in there. He's shown up unannounced, ostensibly to finish the house repairs. Mm-hmm. And he drops a line asking about Dewey, which makes me wonder if that was something intentional to see if she has a reaction.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I wondered what it was about. Like, once I was realizing, oh, he probably set her up, which I started to figure once she, like, starts poking through it and finds stuff really easy. I'm like, oh, he fucking did this on purpose. I thought he wanted her to repeat to Raylan that he was saying Dewey was supposed to come over, so that he would have, you know, a third party being like, no, he doesn't know. He was looking for Dewey himself. He told me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe he does think that she already knows something, which didn't occur to me, which makes sense.
Yeah, and I can't quite tell from the delivery, but he almost, like, he takes a beat when he mentions it. Or at the very least, it like, something about that line just stands out to me, but I don't know why he dropped it in there. So, I don't know. We will see, but he is, well, he gets distracted because Ava asks him where he'd be willing to go with her. And he tells her anywhere as long as it's with her. So she's clearly...
That was hard. I felt the two of them, I really love this whole, like, back and forth thing. Like, this is just an example of a relationship that's fraught being really well done and not feeling like it's, like, lazy, you know?
Yeah.
I want things to work out between the two of them. I see where both of them are coming from and why they each feel betrayed by the other. I don't feel like either of them made a foolish decision. In any case, I feel like they both did what they felt they had to do. And it's hard to watch her asking him, like, she's clearly asking this because she's gonna have something maybe to tell Raylan in case he disappears. But also, I feel like there's a part of her asking, I would like to go, and how much do you trust me, and would you still go? Like, because that sounds really appealing right now, you know?
Right.
There's just a fantasy element to it, too.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. But after Boyd leaves, she rifles around in the barn and finds all of these documents that were the contents of the safe deposit box. And so she flips a little bit and takes off. At the marshal's office, Rachel and David Vasquez are getting a statement from the bank manager.
Mm-hmm.
And Raylan and Tim talk about neo-Nazis and Raylan's baby daughter.
Oh my God, I forgot about their little... it was so jarring after this past weekend.
I know, I really thought the same thing.
Oh my God. Like, guys, anybody who's listening to this, like, way in the future, we're recording on August 17th, and this past weekend was the Charlottesville, like, Nazi white supremacist rally. So it's just been nothing but talk about Nazis everywhere. And so for the two of them to have this casual talk about neo-Nazis feels so topical that it was, like, totally jarring. And basically what Raylan's saying is that Boyd's skinheads used to train in her neighborhood. And there's, like, two groups of people, those who sympathize and those who are terrified of them. And either way, nobody's talking.
Right.
Which turns out to be the case until somebody, like, comes straight up to her house and gets in her face.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, definitely bumped on that a little bit.
And I mean, Tim says she doesn't look like a Nazi to me. And I'm like, yo, seriously? She doesn't? Because she kind of looks like a Nazi. Like, not that she's, you know, looks shady or anything, but she's a beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman who looks like she walked straight out of, like, an Indiana Jones movie where she'd be playing, like, you know, the seductive secret Nazi, basically.
No, there's definitely... You could cast her as an Aryan whatever, and you would blink.
Yeah.
But it's really just kind of a throwaway conversation, really. The details we want to know are, the bank manager claims, she just saw guns and feet, and she is terrified of Boyd Crowder. So Rachel sends Raylan and Tim to go interview the box owner who got robbed and find out what was taken, and maybe they can pinch Boyd for stolen goods.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Well, and Raylan kind of has the same reaction. Rachel's actually surprised that Raylan isn't going off on his own to handle this, but he says he wants to do it right and play it straight and go for the Rico thing, and he is exercising admirable restraint for Raylan. Yeah,
I mean, he's, for once, seeming to... Maybe he did learn a little something from Art getting shot. Perhaps. I don't want to give him too much credit, you know.
So then we go to a couple of NPCs. This older couple that's... they have an encounter with the bearded guy from last episode, who I believe we get his name later.
What did you call them? NPTs?
NPCs? Non-player characters?
Oh, I never heard that.
Oh, it's a Dungeons & Dragons term.
Is it not a video game thing?
It is.
Dungeons & Dragons. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the players are PCs and everyone else are NPCs. So.
Gotcha, okay.
But yeah, it's an older couple, and our guy with the beard wants to buy their land, just like Raylan. And he's offering
He wants to buy their money.
Yeah. But he's offering an awful lot of money, and they are not interested.
Mm-mm.
And I love, he pulls up, and the lady's, hanging sheets. And she says, a handsome young man comes to my house, spewing sunshine, offering a ride in his Mercedes. Feels like maybe I'm chatting with the devil himself.
Mm-hmm.
And his response is, I come to offer you an opportunity to depart this burdensome homestead, live the rest of your days free as newborn babes. Oh, I was right. You are the devil.
Right? Like, honestly, he looks a little bit like the devil, too.
Yeah.
Like, give him some horns, and I feel like that's pretty, like, because he has a slickness about him, but he's also got a really scruffy kind of, like...
Yeah, there's something kind of swarthy about him.
Right? I kind of want him to, like, shave a little bit more, like, not necessarily need to get rid of the beard, but it's growing up on his cheeks high, and, like, down onto, he's got the neck beard thing going on. He also keeps wiping his nose, and I can't decide if he is, like, has a cold, or if he just has a cocaine problem, and he's, like, got that runny nose cocaine problem thing going on.
Right. Right, and neither one...
Because that's, kind of a thing. I'm just like, and he has to wipe his nose on their sheets like a douche.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty. And that's, I think you can... Out of the three people that we meet in this episode, he's clearly the one best suited for this job, but you can also tell he's not super comfortable in a suit.
Yeah, this is definitely kind of unfamiliar territory for him. Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're the couple here, they're not buying it. And they also tell him that they've heard about this guy. That word's been spreading around town that this guy and this local realtor, Calhoun, have been making offers around town and no one's selling. And so he's not he's apparently not being too choosy about what he's trying to buy. He's buying a lot, or trying to. And this is where he gets called a peacock, and he's sent on his way before wiping his nose on their sheets, because he's a douche.
Yeah, I'm really... Because this is the thing that I'm the most curious about. It's one thing to buy up the property that used to be a bank if there's something, like, going on that property, but why are they trying to buy up everybody around them? And all I can think is that they're, like, I don't even know what to think. Like, I was thinking maybe it's something similar to, like, what it had been with the coal mining company, that they need a way in to wherever, and that, like, some of the surrounding property is, like, blocking their way. But, I mean, this bank doesn't sound like it was a particularly big, like, they don't have probably, sprawling catacombs underneath the ground in the middle of Harlan. I wouldn't think. So I don't feel like that's true, but maybe there's something that people, like, there's another legend, sort of like, the guy who dropped out of the sky with a bunch of money. And somebody buried something in, like, the sewers, or I don't know. I can't figure this one out. This is this is interesting to me.
Yeah, it's clearly deliberate, but we just don't have enough detail right now to know what the heck they're doing. So that brings us to the opening credits. And when we come back, we're looking at Catherine Hale and Wynn Duffy in a hotel room. What looks like the same hotel room that they blew up not too long ago.
It kind of does.
But
I guess since he doesn't have his RV anymore, this is his new headquarters.
Right. But they're meeting with Boyd to discuss the fallout from the bank job. And Boyd is not super happy. He hasn't seen, like, overt evidence of money, but Catherine and Duffy are looking at the paperwork, and they seem to be okay with it.
Yeah, so this surprised me because, like, we were talking about the expression on Boyd's face when he opens the safe deposit box, and that it looks like he seems less surprised than everybody else.
Yeah. And
so I kind of thought he had not let them in on a thing that he knew about, but now it feels like they didn't let him in on a thing they knew about.
Yeah, I think...
Even so, she's accusing Boyd of stealing, and she does this even in private to somebody else. So she's telling the truth that she thinks that he's holding something back, which surprised me.
Yeah, I think that... I wonder if last episode Boyd just wasn't playing, like, the good manager role of not letting your employees see. You know, they don't...
Maybe.
Not letting them see you sweat. But yeah, Catherine clearly doesn't trust him. She kind of needles him a little bit about the fact that Ava got out of prison so easily. Yeah,
she does, which obviously hits a nerve because he's just already thinking it.
Yeah, he doesn't take too kindly to that. Tim and Raylan, they come and visit Calhoun, the real estate agent, to talk about his safe deposit box. And like you said, Calhoun's kind of a caricature. I think he's enjoyable enough, but yeah, he looks like he...
I'm pretty sure that this guy was on Friday Night Lights, also as a car salesman. I could swear. Or not, he's not playing a car salesman here, but it's like the same principle, like the blowhard, way too slick and pretending that he's your friend kind of character, you know?
Yeah. He is, and when they meet him, he is just only too eager to talk to Raylan about selling his dad's house. And he even has an interested party. And it turns out that the bearded guy, is in the next room. And we do get his name here. His name is Ty Walker, we find out.
He was in Friday Night Lights. Oh, I love this Amazon X-ray thing. It's the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I just had to check that.
That's okay. But yeah, so we do get the guy with the beard. His name is Ty Walker. And he is right in the next room, peeing. And
right. It's super weird to me that there's like a bathroom right in his office, but all right, that's probably nice.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so they all talk real estate for like a hot second, and then Tim cuts the conversation short to ask about his bank box. And Calhoun tells them it was empty at the time of the robbery, but it had actually just been emptied the day before. And he looks super cagey about this, and we do learn later that that's not actually the case.
I kind of expected him. He doesn't cave by the end of the episode and tell anybody really what's going on, which I was a little impressed by. Like, I sort of expected him, especially once he's alone with, what's his name? Garrett? Is that... Ty.
Yeah, Ty.
Garrett's the actor name. I'm using the actor name again. But yeah, Ty, I thought, was intimidating enough that he might just fold and tell him what's really happening. And
he looks like a weak character, you know.
Definitely.
He's very doughy and sort of not prissy, but like he's very made up and very. You can tell he wants to look. He likes nice things, so
he's soft.
Yeah, he's soft. Exactly.
Yeah, he's somebody who enjoys comfort. He's a bit of a slughorn.
Yes, totally, totally. So yeah, and when they leave,
as am I have to confess.
Oh yes, like I said last episode, I have a total soft spot for the weak characters on a TV show because I'd be right there.
Right.
But Raylan and Tim leave, and as soon as they do, Ty calls one of his flunkies waiting outside and tells him to follow the deputies. And this is where Ty also mentions he has a boss. And so this is the first indication we get that he is, you know, just a mid-level manager here. And he also mentions that there is almost certainly going to be torturing and killing for whoever robbed.
Oh my god. This is so funny. You know, we'll pull out their teeth, they'll tell us what he knows, and then, you know, we'll kill him. I'm just kidding. We'll definitely kill him. Oh my god. I loved it. That was well done.
Yeah, they're well, I've said before I like this actor a lot, so I'll just leave it at that. But I like the way that he can be casually menacing.
Yes, agreed.
So we cut to the road, and Tim and Raylan have very quickly realized they're being followed. And Tim says, "So, all right, what do you want to do? You want to flapjack him? You want to short bus him? You want to special attention him?" And Raylan says, "Are any of those even things?" Nah, I'm mostly making shit up.
I love that so much, because when he starts saying it, I was like, wait a second, Tim doesn't talk like this. I like this joke. That was a good one.
Yeah. And they pretty easily turn the tables on this guy. Mm-hmm. And you get a sense when you cut inside to see Choo Choo before we know who he is. And you can pretty much tell he's a big dude in a small car.
Yeah.
But when he finally gets out of the car to confront Raylan, who just decides to stand in the middle of the road, when he finally gets out of the car, you see this guy. He's a good foot taller than Timothy Olyphant. Like, it's really...
It is great.
Yeah.
He steps back and just goes, God damn. And he's usually the tall one.
Right.
You know, like, I really wonder how tall this dude is.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. It's the kind of thing I normally like to look up, and I totally didn't. But he strikes me as somebody like who he used to be a pro wrestler, or he used to be a basketball player or something turned actor, except for this guy's clearly a much better actor than most special guest stars who just happen to be tall.
6'5".
Oh,
that's
really?
What they say.
That's
Yeah.
tall, but that's not like out of the realm of possibility tall.
Right.
But he's also broad, so maybe that's got something to do
Yeah,
with it.
he is. So. Listen, I can't help it.
No,
Guys who are tall and broad and have scars, I'm just kind of like, hey, I can't. I know that it's a very sort of Neanderthal reaction, but there it is. The hind brain kicks in for a second.
That's, I get it. I totally get it. So we meet him, and we learn that his name is Choo Choo, so named because when I hit you, it comes hard, it comes fast, like a choo-choo train.
Oh my God. Why would that? Just call yourself Train, then. Like, Choo Choo? Really? Okay, sure. Why not? I shouldn't even be surprised after some of the nicknames that you see people having on The Wire and shit.
Nope, that's just it. The reason is you can't give yourself your own nickname. And nobody is going to give you a cool nickname. They're going to name you Choo Choo.
Right, that's true.
So...
What was the one that somebody had on that show? Oh, I can't remember. It was like...
Snot Boogie?
Sorry, there's a... Oh, God, I forgot about that one. That's like an early...
That's the first
one.
scene of the first episode. Snot Boogie's the kid who got killed for holding
Yeah.
up the dice game.
Oh, that was awful, yeah. Anyway, continue, sorry.
It's okay. So Raylan and Choo Choo have some really awkward conversation because Choo Choo can't quite keep up. And eventually Raylan just takes his car and leaves him by the roadside. Because apparently he can just do that. He just suddenly realizes...
I was just... Right, like, I just don't understand how this is a thing that, like, this guy doesn't really struggle against. Like, he's mad about it later. When he's talking about it, he's just kind of like, he fucking took my car. But, like, in the moment, he doesn't fight back or make a scene or even say, are you allowed? He just lets him do that. Which, I mean... It just seems a little surprising. And there's almost a moment where Raylan looks at him as if he is also surprised that this guy isn't putting up a fight. He just kind of like, he says, I'm taking your car. Waits for a reaction. He doesn't really get one. And then he like steps past the guy and starts to get into the car and looks at him like, are you going to do anything? And then the guy doesn't move and he's like, okay, I guess I'm just... And he just drives away almost like he's thinking, that was too easy. What's happening here?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that Raylan seems to be on the same page as me.
Well, and I think that's most people, really. And I think when you're in Choo Choo's situation, we learn later that, he's a war vet and he's got some damage. And you sort of have to trust people who tell you they're in charge. Or I think most people's instinct is to trust people who are in charge, especially when it's like a cop or something like that. That you just sort of, if they tell you they're going to do this, you sort of assume that they can. And so Raylan,
that's true.
We watched Raylan do that to Dewey Crow for 5 seasons. There's just...
Yeah, that's true.
People are willing to, all too often, just willing to accept that these things are okay. And that's why when you see videos like, when the cops pull you over, what you can and can't do, if they say, like, can I look in your trunk? Your instinct is to go, yeah, sure, there's nothing in my trunk. But all the videos are like, no, don't let them do that, because you don't have to let them. But it's not people's instinct.
Yeah, most definitely. That's something that I have only recently started to learn in the past 3-5 years, somewhere in there. There were so many things that I assumed were allowed that aren't, and so many things that I never would have thought were legal and are totally legal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot to educate yourself on.
Yeah. But yeah, so Raylan takes Choo Choo's car, just leaves him standing on the side of the road. We head then back to the hotel, and we meet Avery Markham, who is Sam Elliott, who is one of my favorite people on the planet.
Yo, this was shocking, and he has no mustache, which freaks me out, and I don't like it, and he needs to grow that shit back.
I totally agree with you. Sam Elliott requires a mustache, but he's here, and he's phenomenal, and I'm excited because he's Sam Elliott.
He has a mouth like the Grinch. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That's great.
So, yeah. But, yeah, I am excited that he's here because he just has a certain something that's like, it's a rare type of thing, and he fits in this world quite beautifully.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah, so it's Sam Elliott. Avery Markham is his name, and he is sharing a joint after an evening of romance with Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn that the two of them have a history together. He was a key business partner of her husband. And the two of them, he and Catherine, had a thing back then also, it seems like. Mm-hmm. We also learn that Catherine's now a grandmother, and it doesn't make her particularly happy, which was just a little note I kind of appreciated.
Yeah, I love that. She's just kind of... She's like, I don't want to really be involved, but I'm also mad that I'm not included, kind of thing, which feels right for somebody like her, where she like wants to be in control of things, and when she's not, she's mad about it, but she also just doesn't care about certain parts of, you know, ordinary people's lives that would be important to most people.
Yeah.
Because she's got a very different sort of standard, I think, for what's normal.
I also just sort of like the idea that when she says things like, well, you know, I'm a grandmother, and she kind of tosses that away as like, you need to be polite around me because I'm a grandmother. And
right.
He says, does that make you happy? And the immediate response is, well, like, yes, of course, I love it because I love having grandchildren and I love being a grandmother. And then she kind of takes a second, though, and goes like, you know, not really.
Right.
I just appreciate that not everybody has that cookie-cutter reaction. I mean, I would like to think that she should love being a grandmother, because, you know, but it's just not life for everybody. So I like it.
Agreed.
And she talks to Avery a little bit about some trouble she is having with an employee, although we don't really get details on that, specifically what she's talking about. But she's really consulting him for advice on how to handle this. Yeah,
and he's like, tells her that his method of keeping loyalty is to overpay everybody, which in my experience is exactly correct. And this is something that I really feel like is lost today with the wage problems that we have with stagnation and everything, is that, you know, part of what makes people want to stay with a company is feeling like they cannot get what they're being offered by you from anyone else. And it is, frankly, not really a thing anymore. Like in most businesses, once they realize that they have something that no place else has, rather than be like, oh, we're going to stay really attractive to our employees to make sure they don't leave, they start to be like, oh, nobody gives anybody as much as we do. We need to cut back a little bit. We're going a little too far here. Which is what kind of started to happen at the job that Rashawn had. And I worked there as their barista at this bank, because this bank had a private cafe with its own barista, which, yes, that is crazy. Yeah. But it was, a huge perk for everybody. And I was working there going, this is really surprising. This is still around. It was like, 2014, I think, 2013. And I was at the job going, this feels like a relic, having this kind of perk. And sure enough, I got laid off in like 2 months because they closed it down. And after they closed it down, it was a harbinger of a lot of other stuff getting cut. A lot of other, fun benefits that aren't necessary, but that really keep morale up, like having a big Christmas party every year.
Perks. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing that employers cut, but don't, and think that nobody's going to miss them. And We do. We really, really do. And I appreciated so much that a minute later, we're given big clarification that he is not a soft touch. He talks about, take one eye? What's the point of that? They can even still drive. You take both eyes. Like, do it right or don't do it. So this is a fucking scary man. But also that he is just wise about what people need. Like, I'm very much into this character now.
So, we leave them for the moment and go back to the real estate office. And Ty gets a call from Choo Choo, and that puts him in a rage. And while Ty is melting down, Calhoun is getting texts and emails from Boyd, who has his ledgers.
Right. And he has zero poker face, and yet still somehow this guy doesn't pick up that there's something going on.
Yeah. And so he manages to get a quick call to Boyd, and Boyd wants cash for these documents. And the whole time, because he asked Ty, do you mind if I take this call? The whole time, Ty is, like, furiously fidgeting across the desk.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as Calhoun hangs up, he's able to spit out the name of the bank manager, which is Joyce Kipling. And Ty is just off. And I really think that's what it is that he is so focused on... I don't think he thinks that this guy has... would ever pull anything like this. I don't think he counts very much.
Yeah, I agree. And it's all, like, I have to confess that later when he's talking to Raylan, and Raylan's like, did he have a strange and over-long way of speaking? There was, like, for some reason in this scene, I assumed he knew who Boyd was. And there really isn't a reason to think that, but I guess I just think everybody knows who Boyd is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. You get that feeling, especially like even from the Town Hall episode in season 2, where just everyone knows Boyd. But then again, start of this season, he was also able to go and open a bank account, and apparently no one was the wiser. So,
yeah, that's true. I mean, she was able to go and open it, but she was acting super weird around him, and they say she's just afraid of Boyd later. So.
That's true.
I guess I think she did know, and, she calls him by his name, so by then at least she knows.
Yeah, well, she knows his name because he's a client and he opened a safety deposit box. Right.
But I think, like, even if she didn't know him by face, once he told her his name, she was like, oh, no, okay, oh, shit, There's almost that moment when he has his accomplice come in and be like, can I get some service here? And he tells her, go on ahead. And she, like, seems to breathe a sigh of relief that she can get away from him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. And the show really has invested 5 seasons in letting us know that Boyd is, like, the guy in a very small town. He's the big fish in the small pond. And then in this season now, they really... Yeah, this is twice where I guess we're expected to take for granted that he can just go do these things and not everybody immediately suspects him.
Right.
So maybe a little bit of inconsistency there. But so Ty takes off. We then cut briefly back to Choo Choo, who's hitching a ride on the side of the road. And Tim just happens by and offers him a lift.
It didn't even occur to me that Choo Choo didn't know who Tim was. I didn't even, I assumed that he knew and that he was just like, oh, fine, I'll just take the ride with the asshole. Like, you know what I mean? I had no idea where this was going, and it was kind of delightful.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just a real quick scene that we're going to come back to. First, though, we go to Ava and Raylan, and she meets up with him in, like, this car graveyard. And she's showing him the ledger of the documents that she found. And she's super proud of herself, or at the very least is looking for Raylan to be, like, good job, you don't have to go back to prison.
Right.
But Raylan's, really, his first thought is, this was way too easy. Boyd is probably setting you up.
Yeah.
And
I didn't realize that they were not meeting on her... Like, I thought this car graveyard was off of her property. Because there's a lot of places around Texas that look like this, right near people's houses, let me tell you.
Is that right?
It's kind of like... I don't understand it. Can we talk about this just briefly?
Of course.
What is the deal? Because, you see this kind of thing, and the first thing that you think is, like, probably poverty. But, like, where do you get the cars in the first place? Like, that's a weird thing to have a lot of and be poor. Like, it's just a strange, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like it's from, like myself, a history of buying really crappy vehicles and either expecting them to last or expecting you can fix them up and make some money. And then that just never quite pans out.
I guess, like, because even if it doesn't, there's so many services now where you can, like, donate your car and they'll give you a little something for it. You know, they'll either just tow it away for free, and that's the bonus that you get, or they'll give you like a voucher for, you know, a vacation like package that is hugely restricted that you can use during like 1-2 week period throughout 3 years. But still, it's just things that you can really, there are ways of getting, so it's just weird to me to like hold on to it forever and just have the place be so junked up. There's so much of this around where we live, and it's a lot of farm equipment too, you know, like tractors and things that are, you would think, at least worth some money, even broken down. I don't know that, but I would think that even just the scrap metal would be worth something, you know?
Right.
But it's just a kind of a strange thing. So when I saw this, it really, a lot of Harlan looks like where we live in Texas, because it's like kind of rolling hills, a lot of like kind of plains and with grasses and very low fences near the road or no fences at all. And everything is so brown because it's like dry in the fall. It just really looked familiar. So yeah, I thought that this was like, you know, maybe down the ways a bit from behind her barn or something like this, you know.
I can see that. I mean, this I think all the exteriors we've seen of Ava's house really look like she's just on like farmland, and this looks more wooded to me. But I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. And actually, and this just reminded me out of nowhere, but one of the other podcasts I listen to called Reveal, it's an investigative journalism podcast. They have a bunch of reoccurring stories, and I may have mentioned this at one other point, I don't remember, but they had an update to an older story of theirs about someone called Mountain Jane Doe, which was a body found on a mountain trail back in the 50s or 60s. And the whole thing takes place in Harlan County.
Oh, okay.
Which is really, really interesting, just to actually have a story set in the real Harlan County and talk to or listen to people from the actual Harlan County. And it kind of feels a little bit like a Justified episode.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, not really, but at the same time, it is just sort of this unsolved murder that happened, and them trying to track down the body, and then once, and if they can ID the body, even though it's 50 years old, maybe they can pick up this cold case and actually find out who killed them, and talking to the police in that area, and like the people who live in the town, and it was just kind of fun to have an actual sort of police story happen in the real-life version of the fictional place that we've been watching for a year.
That's neat. What's it called again?
It's called Reveal.
Okay, cool.
And they do a lot of really great stuff, and it's all investigative journalism, like deep dives on single topics, and they'll come back to it every couple of months whenever there's an update, and they'll recap everything they talked about last time and tell you what's new. And it's neat. I really like it. I definitely recommend it.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, back to the show. So yeah, Raylan is he's suspicious of this, and he tells Ava she needs to return everything and just put it right back where you found it. And she is not at all happy about this, and she's also totally not even considered that Boyd has done this intentionally, and she's pretty outraged at that idea also.
I love that moment of, how dare he suspect me of this, when that's exactly what's going on. But I get it, I do.
Now we go back to Choo Choo and Tim arriving at the bar that Avery Markham owns. And they meet Choo Choo's buddy, Seabass. And it turns out they're all ex-Rangers, and they're employees of Tiger Hawk Security. They're a private security contractor. And since Tim is also a veteran of the Iraq War, Choo Choo's made friends with him and has been kind of chatty and just tells him all about everything they're doing here.
Oh my God. I couldn't, I just love, I had no idea that he doesn't know who Tim is. So when it turns out that he just blabbed like that, I was rolling. Like, just, that was very unexpected.
And I love, he comes in on this tangent where he's like, well, maybe I should have just killed the Marshal and left him on the side of the road, but then I would have had, if someone came by, I'd have to kill them too. And then if someone else came by, I'd have to kill them too. And then if someone else came by, I'd have to kill them too. And he just goes down this rabbit trail of all the people he'd have to murder.
I love it.
And he's
so much.
He's so honestly contemplative about it.
Yep.
He's adorable.
There's something about him that reminds me. I'll get back to you if I can figure out who this is, but there's somebody in the Dresden Files that he is reminding me of. And I think that's part of it is how he, like, spaces out, sort of, in the middle of the sentence. Like, he's saying, and if somebody else came by, I'd have to kill them too. And he's sort of, like, staring off into the distance at nothing, just absently sipping his beer, thinking about how that would go in this it's scary in how matter-of-fact he is about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Tim, like, tells him, oh, hey, I'm Marshall, I'll see him in the office and let him know he dodged a bullet. And fucking Choo Choo isn't even like, oh, shit. He's just like, yeah, tell him. Also, I want my car back. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. I love him. I love this guy. Oh, he's great. He's like he's got a little bit of the Dewey dumbness,
mm-hmm.
but he's obviously much more capable than Dewey physically, so he's a little scarier, but he doesn't have that, like, neediness that Dewey had. So
yeah, that's what it is. There's nothing pathetic about him.
Yeah.
He's a little, the situation is a little sad, but yeah, Dewey is pathetic and this guy's not pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this redheaded dude is from because he looks super familiar, but I used the X-ray and it didn't tell. He was on ER and some shows that I've never watched before, but he looks really familiar.
Yeah, and actually I'm looking at it now too, and I actually do know the name, but I couldn't tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love this entire scene because Tim he's so smiley and he's so peppy,
mm-hmm.
and he's just enjoying the hell out of this. And Seabass is listening to all of the things that this guy is just openly talking about with a stranger. And his eyes are just getting wider and wider and wider.
God, it's so good. And I love when he starts to be like, hey, what the fuck, to Tim. Fucking Choo Choo steps in to defend Tim and is like, don't be an asshole, Seabass. Oh! I love this so much. It's so weird. Oh, God, it's so great. I love it. I love this whole pairing. Yeah. It's just, please don't go away, Choo Choo. Don't do anything that gets you killed too soon. I need you.
Yeah. And there's a wonderful little moment in here, too, that's where Seabass is attempting to shut Choo Choo up, and he's explaining to Tim that Choo Choo suffered a head wound in Iraq. And Choo Choo gets, like, really self-conscious all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's just this tiny moment of, like, come on, man, don't tell him that. And I really, really like it, because you can see from the moment you first meet him, you can see he's got, like scar tissue or whatever up in his forehead.
Yeah, yep.
And so it doesn't, you can sort of put that stuff together on your own, but just to hear him, this is clearly that Choo Choo knows that he's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
He's figured this out already. And so, but for someone to blow up a spot like that with a new friend,
yeah,
I just love that hurt look. There's something very innocent about him.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So,
bless him. He's great. I love this whole character. I should, and I don't want anybody to think that it's like, I'm laughing at a guy who's, like, impaired, because that's not it at all. It's just the whole way that he's playing off the other characters and how his actions are so, like, unexpected and both more aggressive and less aggressive than I would expect. It's just, that's what I'm really enjoying here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And then eventually Tim, he lets them know. I do like that Tim doesn't leave without telling them, or without not telling them that, like, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm a marshal. Talk to you later.
Right, yeah.
So we then go back, it's nighttime now, and we go back to the real estate office, and Raylan barges in on Calhoun getting a blowjob from Caprice, a local hooker. And first of all, I love her reactions to the possibility that first that he might have cancer, where it's like hands immediately come off.
Right, like,
and then
what does she think that means?
Yeah. And then when Raylan asks if she's Mrs. Calhoun, she, ew, gross.
And then just looks at him and is like, sorry, no offense. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, offense taken, but okay.
Yeah, and Calhoun is, like you said, he doesn't break. He won't tell Raylan what's going on, but Caprice thinks that's ridiculous. And so she just spills the entire thing. And there's just something lovely about that. That she, like, he's a cop, tell the cops, you idiot.
Yeah, agreed.
And so she lays out the whole backstory. Calhoun is buying up properties and deeds for Ty's group, who Calhoun eventually realized are the bad guys. Once he realized this, he started keeping a blackmail ledger of accounts and amounts of money to protect himself. Now the blackmail ledger is stolen in a robbery, and Calhoun is being blackmailed, but he can't tell the bad guys or they're going to kill him. The blackmailer, who is Boyd, although no one realizes that but Raylan, wants the cash that Calhoun gets delivered by Ty for all the properties he's purchased for them. And it's just this wonderful bit of exposition by this woman who's a nobody character, but has just like, this is ridiculous. This is what's going on. And I just love that. I love that she has no time for dancing around, no time for secrets about stuff.
And I like, too, that, like, she looks over at Raylan and she says, do you want me to do it? But there almost feels like she's asking, what's-his-face, if he wants her to do it? To just tell him, you know, like...
that's what I took from that, too.
Yeah, you know, so there's almost this, like, listen, sweetie, I know you're kind of a pussy. Do you want me to do the hard part here and just, like, you know, totally put you on Front Street? Because I'll do it, and I'm fine with it. So, yeah, I kind of love that she's the one... She deals with cops all the time, I bet. So she's just like...
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to have them on your side. Maybe do the smart thing here.
Yeah. Then we go back to the homestead, and Ava returns home to find Boyd sitting on her front porch. And as she's walking towards him, Boyd says, I think we need to talk, don't you?
Oh, my God.
And Ava immediately seizes control of the conversation.
Yeah, she does.
And
just Ava is so fucking magnificent in this scene. Oh, it made me so happy. She just did this so exactly right. Thank you, Ava. Girl. I don't know why anybody would be mad at her character, like, at all, ever, because she just handles some shit, man.
Oh, she's brilliant. She's brilliant. Yeah, she blasts him and says, she explains exactly how and why she found the documents and says, I cannot believe you would put your stolen shit on my property and possibly which could send me back to jail, you son of a bitch. And just takes all the wind out of his sails, just completely shuts him down. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I love, and I love when he's like, well, where is it now, Ava? Expecting her to be like, oh, I threw it away. Or, and she's just like, it's in the fucking truck, you dipshit. Go fucking get it. Like, what's her face earlier being like, go get your own coffee.
Right.
It was, and he really looks taken aback. Like,
yeah.
It's not even that he looks guilty, like he feels like, oh, maybe I misjudged you. There's a look of, oh, maybe you're better at this than I thought. I really don't think that her having it and telling him that she has it proved anything to him beside the fact that she knew exactly what the fuck he was up to. Like,
yeah.
I think he's still really suspicious of her at this point.
Yeah. They've done a very good job so far in both episodes of keeping Boyd's feelings towards her really mysterious, which is important for us to sympathize with Ava and to be on board with her struggle. We can't know how Boyd really feels about this,
right? So
it's pretty brilliant, and you know we've said for 5 seasons now what a great actor he is, but I just really love how inscrutable he is so far.
Agreed. Yeah.
And so Boyd
should,
leaves.
and I just love that she does the way that she frames it about it being a potential huge danger to her, how inconsiderate it is that we don't have this kind of relationship anymore, kind of thing, you know? And it really is such a perfect setup for her to come to him later and be like, listen, if you want to be hiding shit, you better be telling me what the fuck is going on. And it was a perfect way to approach it and broach a conversation with him that feels like it means it, like it's real, you know, it just feels real. This whole thing, she was a pro. Good job, Ava.
Absolutely. And the scene ends with Boyd leaving, and Ava heads into the house, and as soon as the door is closed, she nearly collapses. Mm-hmm. Which I also appreciated. That was hard for her.
Yeah, it was.
She got away with it, but just barely. So we go then to Boyd, and he heads to Calhoun's office, where he finds Raylan waiting in the hall. And
this
Raylan
is super funny. The look that Boyd gets, motherfucker. I can't seem to quit you, Raylan. Two of them. Oh, brother.
Yeah, they dug coal together.
Mm-hmm.
And Raylan also tells Boyd that he's been transferred. And they kind of dance around a bit about that.
Right.
And then Raylan basically just takes Boyd's briefcase and watches Boyd leave.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was really, what's Boyd gonna do, I guess? But I kind of expected there to be, nothing in there. I don't remember what even happened with that.
Well, that's supposed to be Boyd giving him the ledger, giving Calhoun the ledger, and Ledger giving Calhoun giving Boyd all the money that he got from Ty in exchange. Right.
But it is the actual ledger in that briefcase, right? So Raylan does wind up with the actual items.
Yeah, I mean, we assume so. I don't think we actually go back to what's in that suitcase at any point for the rest of this episode.
Okay.
But
that was my question. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but that is the assumption.
I'm not sure if I had forgotten something, a reveal later that it turns out to be nothing. But
yeah, no, I do not believe we ever actually go back to this. I think Raylan just foils the handoff.
I really wonder what's going to happen for Calhoun too, because now that he's involved in this, I wonder, not that I really care about the guy, I don't know him, but I do feel bad that he just got involved without realizing who he was dealing with initially. And then once he did, he tried to do what he needed to protect himself in an intelligent way. I think that he was handling it as well as he could given the circumstances, beyond just, fucking bailing in the middle of the night.
Right.
But right. I just kind of feel bad for the guy,
Totally. And he plays the sad sack very well, so I think that's fair. All right, so after this scene, we go to Joyce, the bank manager. And she is returning home from grocery shopping and trying to get all the bags when Ty pops out of nowhere. And he's not rude, but he's not subtle. And just pushes her for information to the point where she is terrified.
Yeah, the way that he pops out from around the side of her house like he had been in her house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's something about the approach, where he's making his approach from, that makes it all so much more frightening than it would be if he had just been waiting in the car or something. It just gives the sense of already her space has been violated somehow, and she isn't even aware of what that somehow is. He's pretty good.
Yeah, and she eventually manages to tell Ty the name Boyd Crowder. It's all that she's got. And she seems satisfied with that, and just wishes her a pleasant evening, and goes on his way.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised that he does, too, because I kind of expected there to be, I don't know, some kind of pushback, but I don't, everybody knows who this guy is. Raylan has seen his face, Tim has seen his face, the real estate agent knows who he is. So there really isn't a need to, cover his trail, because they're working out in the open for the most part. but I was still very worried for her. Like, this was a tense moment, and this show is so good at making these, like, tense moments last and last and last, and then end so suddenly with a fucking gunshot out of nowhere that I really expected that to happen here. And the fact that that doesn't, I was like, oh, thank God. I was just relieved that she got out of there, and she got to keep her groceries. I thought he might do something dickish, at least, just like dump shit out on the gravel, you know.
Yeah,
But,
and I do love he takes one of the grocery bags as if like, come on, I'll help you inside your house. Let's go. And it's not overtly threatening, but it's way threatening.
right? Yeah.
And that his, like the lady said at the beginning of the episode, he's got that veneer of, no, I'm smiley and happy and helpful, and it's absolutely false, and he knows it's absolutely false, and everyone knows it's absolutely false, but he is being polite, and so we're going to keep talking.
Yeah, this is part of the thing with just like, it's a really good example of just predators in general. They know how to play on your societal ingrained reactions that you've been taught are how to treat a person, even when they don't seem to warrant that treatment. And women especially have been ingrained. Like, a guy can be being creepy as a motherfucker, and oftentimes we'll look back and be like, why didn't I tell him to fuck off? But in the moment, it's so ingrained to be polite, because maybe he's not a creep. Maybe I'm imagining it. Or maybe he is a creep, and if I call him on it, he will flip the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I don't want to deal with that either. So, yeah, he's very good at towing that line there. He's really, really scary in this very specific way that I don't feel like he is, because when it was, what's his face? Guy with the blonde hair.
Quarles.
Third season. Quarles. Quarles was scary in this, like, you don't know when he's about to go off sort of way.
Yep.
Because he just felt like a fucking ticking time bomb. This guy is scary in it feels like he is psychologically really good at reading people. And that he's done this a while. Like, Quarles felt somewhat new to this, but that he was crazy enough that everything tended to go his way because everybody was just scared of him. Right. And this is a guy that you get the impression he's older and still in the game because he's good. Sort of like Win Duffy a little bit.
Sure. There's
a bit of that there.
Yeah, although I think Duffy is more genuinely, like, affable than this guy is.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. When Duffy seems to actually be sort of, like, have some self-awareness and be good-natured in a way about it, but in the end, it comes down to business, and that's always what it's going to come down to. But with this guy, it doesn't feel like he gives a shit what anybody thinks of him, and there is no humor to him. Like, it's just, he's a very single-minded type.
So we then go to Boyd, who is sitting alone in the back office of Johnny's bar having a drink. And in the front, Earl is sweeping up, and he finds Dewey Crow's gator tooth necklace. Yeah. And tries it on for a moment, and then he just hangs it on a mounted squirrel on a shelf.
I feel like that's going to be coming up.
Yeah, Chekhov's gator tooth necklace.
Something, like either one of the rangers, one of the marshals will find it, or Ava will notice it and put it together, but I don't know how well she knew Dewey. I assume pretty well. But yeah, I feel like somebody's going to notice this and realize what this means.
So, speaking of Ava, she walks in looking for Boyd, and she shrugs off her sweater, and she's looking her best.
Right.
And Earl takes her in the back, and he gets dismissed. So Ava and Boyd can have a conversation again. And
I love, too, when Earl sees her, he's like, we're closed, and then he sees her, and he straightens up and smiles, and it's just like, oh, but we're not like that closed. We're like, we're like ugly girl closed, but not like hot girl closed. Yeah.
I could see that being a line that would come out of his mouth, honestly.
For sure.
But he gets dismissed, and Ava and Boyd sit down, and they have this face-to-face where, this is the conversation you talked about before, where she tells him that she doesn't like where they left things off, and Boyd is reserved. And she says, either we're together or we're not. Either I'm part of what you're doing or I'm not. And I can't help you if you don't let me. And he's still...
And he seems pretty ready to, like, dismiss her anyway.
Yeah.
Like, he's not impressed by this, really.
Yeah. And then she drops the bomb that she didn't just take this stuff. She looked at it. And one of these land deeds that were in that pile is different from the others. It was for a property that is currently the Pizza Portal, but it used to be ... And then Boyd...
And he realizes. And I'm like, what are you realizing? Tell me!
Yeah, he breaks into this smile. Holy shit. And, oh, my baby girl, you're a genius. Big kiss. Yeah, he is just like that, on board. At least right at this moment, that's it. Got it, done, back together. And then he rushes out to get them a bottle of bourbon, the good stuff.
Yes.
And then when Ava's alone again, she goes back to looking troubled.
Yeah, when he kisses her, too, he stops and, like, he almost apologizes, and I thought that he was apologizing for kissing her for a second, and then I realized that he's apologizing for doubting her, but he can't actually apologize because he doesn't think she is aware, maybe, of exactly what he is apologizing for, because now I think his worries are put to rest. Like, now, her doing this, in his mind, really does prove that earlier, when she, like, screamed at him, she was serious. She wasn't just playing a part.
Right.
So, I don't know, there's that moment of him looking at her in this way, and I was like, oh, that kills me.
I like that. I didn't read it that way at all, but I really like that, and I can totally see it. Yeah.
It's the kind of, and again, to get kind of personal, it's that moment where you realize that you can be a really good liar if you want, and how fucked up it is. Like, moments where you can get somebody to believe something, and part of you is relieved, and another part of you is like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, it's just, ew. The reason that they believed it is because they are kind of,
because they want to
going
believe
to
you.
trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they fall on the line of trusting me more than not, and I'm taking advantage of that. Oh, it's just really, her face, the two of them, I just can't. This is so heartbreaking. It's so hard to watch. Ugh.
So we go now, and that was we're coming to the end of the episode here. Our second to last scene is Ty and Seabass pulling up outside of the farmhouse of the NPC couple from the opening of the episode with a couple rolls of plastic sheeting. And we
don't care for that.
No, and we do not know what happened other than they are here and they've got a lot of plastic.
I mean, this isn't the last scene.
No, it's second to last scene. Second to last scene.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so we don't find out what happened here or what is about to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's Ty who says, this is turning out to be a lot more work than I thought, or is that Seabass who says that?
I don't know.
But either way, one of them was just like, this is not supposed to be how this goes.
Yeah.
Like, I think they really thought they could come into town and wave a bunch of money under people's faces and that would be enough.
Once again,
and
underestimating.
They underestimated. Yep.
Yeah. And,
yep.
But whatever they're going to do, it is not good. So, our last scene is Raylan and Tim in Markham's bar, or the Pizza Portal, I guess. Mm-hmm. And Raylan comes back, tosses the keys to Choo Choo, they fly right past his head and just smack the back of the wall.
Again, with the unexpected, he's not happy to see him, he's not like, oh, hey, thanks for my car. He doesn't react at all in any way, and the look that Raylan gives him after he throws the keys and Choo Choo doesn't react. Did you see the look on Raylan's face? Like, he just looks at him like, the fuck is happening right there? Like, he just gets this, like, it's almost like a sneer, or like when you see something like a meme that doesn't really make sense. Like, there's just a face he makes that I could not stop laughing. It's just so fucking funny. Yeah. Oh, this whole thing. Why is this so funny to me? It's just, I think it's just because it's constantly so surprising.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, right after that interaction, Ty and Seabass come in from the rear. So they're back from whatever. And
I really thought they were going to be carrying a body or some shit.
Yeah,
Jesus.
right?
But no.
But no, they're here, they say, because Harlan has, quote, a bright future, unquote.
Yep.
And they banter back and forth a little bit. And Raylan tells Ty that if he wants to buy Arlo's place, Raylan needs to speak directly with the head guy, and he knows it's not Ty. And Ty is not happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's Choo Choo that's like, well, you know, he's the, what does he call him? The HB...
The HNIC, the head N-word in charge.
Oh, shit, okay. I thought that's what that meant, but I was like,
Yeah.
But yeah, Raylan's just like, oh, Choo Choo, sweetie. No, he's not. And Choo Choo just listens. It's just kind of like, huh. And I love the way that Raylan's like, I mean, look at him. He works for someone. Like, how insulting. Oh, what shade.
Yeah, he
what shade.
knew exactly what button to press with this guy. Because in this circle, in that trio, Ty is most definitely in charge. But reminding him that, oh yeah, you're not in charge, and I can tell, is, it's not sitting well with him.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Just look at him. Oh, ouch. What does that mean, buddy? So good.
And so after laying that down, they turn around and leave. And Raylan looks around and mentions that he hasn't been in this building since he was a kid, when it used to be a bank. Credits.
Dun, dun, dun. And again, I don't know if that is supposed to be him just saying something offhand, or if it is supposed to be him just as they're leaving, letting them know, oh, we know why you're here. We know exactly what you're doing. We know what patterns to look for and what to pursue. You know what I mean? Because of being aware of what you're doing. Which, if that's true, it might be sooner than later that they wind up finding this couple that I'm assuming is now dead. Because I don't know exactly what they were planning on doing in terms of getting rid of this couple. Like, if they were going to get rid of the bodies, if they were going to, like, leave. Because here's the thing. Killing this couple doesn't necessarily just, like, open up this house. They might have children and a will.
Right.
And I guess what they're assuming is even if they do, that family doesn't live there at the moment and can be persuaded to sell for the crazy price that they had been offering earlier, whatever that is. Which is probably, true. It's kind of a Godfather thing. Just get rid of the parent that we know is not tractable, and then we can move in and do whatever the fuck we want. But I just don't really know if being murdered changes how that works. Like, if there's a temporary hold on a property when it's a crime scene, like, you know what I mean? Like, would they have to get rid of the bodies and just disappear these, but then nobody knows for sure they're dead? Like, I just don't know. Would they have to stage it and make it look like an accident, maybe?
Yeah.
But how do you kill them both and make it look like an accident?
It's a good question. And Justified is the kind of show where that would absolutely come up. They wouldn't handwave that.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see, because we still don't really know what happened there. But can I say it's a foregone conclusion that they are probably going to wind up getting that house?
I mean, I guess so. And that's going to be their new headquarters, and I feel so bad because that couple seemed kind of rad. Yeah,
they did a good job at making an impression in a very short span of time. They seem like people who have been there for generations and ain't leaving.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the end of the episode, and I was just like, oh, okay, shit. Because, I finally get a drop of information about what this might be all about, and then it just ends, and I was like, well, goddamn. But yeah, that's how it goes today, I guess. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? Because,
no,
I wanted to say hi to new patrons real quick before we wrapped it up.
I am super enthusiastic about saying hi to new patrons, so let's get on with it.
Actually, before I even say that, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody. I will be giving a full list of names on the Harry Potter podcast, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been donating to the GoFundMe for the trip to Orlando. We were like $50 away from our first goal today, and I upped it because we can always use a little bit extra funding for the, what do you call it? We're going to be renting a conference room at the hotel to do the live show.
Right.
And we're going to have to pay for that. So, everything that we can get, basically, more money is never a problem, is what I'm saying. And we still have months to go before this trip, so I'm really confident that we'll be able to reach our goal again. And Rashawn and I, so, the world's been terrible. Everything is awful. And Rashawn and I were talking the other day about how we both feel sometimes like we're not doing anything. But then we get messages from people that they tell us, like, hey, you doing what you do has helped me through a really tough time. Or you doing what you do helps me get my mind off of all of the garbage. And we were thinking about how we had planned on offering one large podcast in order to cover all 8 Harry Potter movies. And what we decided is that we're going to split that up and offer everybody who donates 3 podcasts instead, so that, we can put a little bit more goodness out there and a little bit extra something to get people's minds off everything.
Nice.
So we're going to be doing the first 3 movies in one episode, movies 4 through 6 in the next episode, and then the final 2 movies will be its own episode. Which I think is in keeping with how much there is to really talk about in each as well.
Yeah, that's great.
So the first one we're going to try and record within a couple weeks, and we'll be releasing the Dropbox link to everybody who's donated so far. And then we're going to record the next one probably sometime in September, and then October. And then, in November is the trip. So I think that'll be a really good way to say thank you to everybody. And we just really appreciate it. And, we've had people donate everywhere from like $250 to $5. And everything means something. Like, it all adds up. To me, like, from where I'm coming from in my budget, giving $5, I may as well be giving $250 because I don't have any money. So I can't do that. So when somebody, like, will, privately message me and be like, sorry, I couldn't give more. I'm like, don't be sorry. If you give anything, you don't have to give anything. Like, you're just being awesome, whatever you give. So thank you. So thank you to all of you people. And for those interested, the live recording that we're going to be doing is going to be on December 2nd, a Saturday, at the Cabana Bay Resort in Orlando at 7 p.m. Or 6 p.m. Sorry, I keep saying 7, but it's going to be 6 because we have to watch the movie before we talk about it. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch the first Harry Potter movie, except with the commentary of Brad Neely's Wizard People, Dear Readers.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it is basically, it syncs up with the movie, and it is a comedian's play-by-play interpretation of what's happening. And it is hysterical. And I've listened to it. Owen plays it on road trips and stuff. I've listened to it a bunch of times, and I still laugh out loud because there are parts of it that are just... I'm anticipating Rashawn laughing so much that we have to pause it because she will miss other jokes. So we'll see how it goes, but that's what we're going to watch together as a group, and then she and I are going to go up and we'll record the podcast with the audience. So I'm really excited because it's going to be my first live podcast. I anticipate also lots of technical problems and irritation and frustration on my part, so get ready for that. And overall, I'm just really pumped to be doing this, and I hope that I'm not charging anything for everybody to come to this. If you'd like to donate some money, for us to pay for the room, that's great. But it's not like I'm charging tickets or anything. But I think it should be a really good time, and it's going to be on the last day of our trip, and then we're going to be heading back to our respective homes. So, and Alan just told me today that he thinks he's going to be able to make it to that. So,
Indeed. I'm really, really excited about it. We just booked our tickets to overlap. We're going to be visiting with my mom down south, but we are going to make the trip to Orlando, and hopefully on Saturday, so we can hang out, we can watch a live podcast, and meet some people. including you and me,
I'm really,
because
really
we haven't
excited.
seen each other in like 20 years. So
Can you believe that we can say that we're old enough to be able to say?
yeah.
I mean, I was 14, so it's been 18 years, I guess.
But that,
when I was a 14-year-old freshman.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I haven't seen you since you were 14. I saw you once and I didn't recognize you. And I didn't know that I saw you because you told me later, like, hey, I saw you at the track. And that's it. So
At the track?
yes, me and my friend Vin, we were walking around the track and you were on like, there was like some like ladies exercise group or something. And then later on, you contacted Vin to say, hey, I saw you guys. But yeah, totally, yeah. So that's the closest that we've come to meeting in 18 years.
Wow. That's funny.
So, yeah, I'm
Um,
super excited.
yeah,
and
goddamn.
yeah, and said I can meet Owen and Rashawn, and you can meet Amanda, and we can have fun, and we can have beers, and it'll be awesome.
Oh, yeah, you know we're going to be drinking, too. Yeah, everybody who's coming to the live show is probably coming with us to a bar after, so yeah, I'll be prepared for that. The fucking Cabana Bay Hotel has a vintage-style bowling alley in the
Really?
basement. So that's on my list of to-dos, I'll tell you right now. It looks rad as fuck.
I don't know what a vintage bowling alley looks like, but it's caught my attention.
It looks like it came straight out of like a Happy Days. Like it's like, you know, a 50s
Okay.
style, 50s, 60s style design. And it is slick and really, really cool looking. And Rashawn is like so excited because this is exactly her aesthetic, which I did not know. But yeah. And I haven't seen Rashawn in, at this point now, 4 years. And, I almost forgot to tell you this, and nobody listening cares, but Lace might come also, Alan.
Really?
Yeah.
That's someone else I haven't seen in like 18 years. But yeah, that she was great for the half a year that I knew her. So that's
Lace
exciting.
is one of my besties still, even though we like barely talk. But she came and visited me in here in Texas last year, and she travels a ton. And I told her, I was like, hey, we're doing this thing, and she's like, oh shit, I think I might be able to come because she can just do whatever because she has the money and the time, which bless her heart. So yeah, that might be a thing.
Nice.
So anyway, I'm excited about this trip in case y'all couldn't tell. If you're interested in donating, it's GoFundMe.com/unspoiledhpworld. And there's a group on Facebook for it too if you're planning on like, you know, coming to stay at the hotel and doing the whole deal. But there's also just the event on Facebook for the live recording if you just want to come to that event on that Saturday. That's on the main Facebook.com/unspoiledpod. So yeah, that's everything. And I didn't say new patron names, so before I forget, we have Julie Bouchard, Tristan Heidet, Silje Eren Strom, Nicole Larson, Joseph Angel, Nina Bennett, and Laura, no last name. So welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for becoming patrons.
Welcome.
A few of you were $10 and up, which means you're going to be getting the awesome Snape was still a dick, though postcard. And a few of you are $5 and up, which means you'll have immediate access to Twin Peaks. And me and Maggie just recorded the final episode of season 2 of Twin Peaks, which was fucking bonkers.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I was not prepared. And then
Strong
after
ending for an uneven season.
Right? Why is the rest of the show not as good as that fucking finale? And then after we recorded that, I went and watched Firewalk with Me, and talk about not being ready. I was just, there's no way to be ready for that fucking movie.
I've still never seen it, but I've heard it's just crazy banana pants.
Dude, it is, like, disturbing isn't even the word. Like, there is just, David Lynch has a way of just, like, cutting right into the part of your brain that is, like, resisting, you know, the part of your brain that you try and ignore the awful things that it says. And he's like, oh no, come out into the light. Let's look at it. And I'm like, no, I don't like it. Don't. But yeah, he does that. So that is going to be what we record on next. And then we're going to be doing season 3 of Twin Peaks, which is still airing, which I thought it was done. I thought they had put them all out there, but not yet, I guess. So that'll be interesting.
I still haven't watched that yet either. I'm very curious to hear what you think of it without spoilers.
Right?
Yeah, I've heard stuff. So
yeah, I've seen really uneven things. So we'll see. There's 18 episodes in the third season, but some of them aired together. So she and I plan to record those together in the way that they were aired. So hopefully I'll be catching up somewhat soon.
Cool.
So yeah, that's what's going on. So you guys know where to find us. Facebook.com/unspoiledpod, Twitter/unspoiledshow, Instagram at unspoiledpodcast. You can find me on Twitter at Natasha Writing. And sir, take it away.
All right. Well, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Al Kingsley. You can find me with Natasha on the latest episode of the Unspoiled Book Club, where we talked about The Girl with All the Gifts. So if you want a fantastic quick read, check that out, and then check us out. And you guys can find me here for 11 more episodes on Unspoiled Justified every week.
Yay! 11 more episodes. Can't believe that's going to be...
Yeah, getting down to it.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for listening. We love you dearly. And we will see you next week with a new episode.
Bye, everyone.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul. God, get at you, boy. You try to hold on, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I see them long, hard times to come. My life is ill, son, prepared to kill, son. Paradox of pain, baby, it's real, son. Lonely traveler, ain't trying to value you, but if you're feeling tough, dog, I walk up all challenges. Ain't got no family.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.